All right, welcome back. We're here talking the Music Modernization Act with the great folks from NSAI right here who have been working so hard on this, and we have a couple of you ready to talk to us, ask us some questions on the phone. So first, we're going to start with Stacy. Stacy, you are on the show with us right now. What's your question?
I'm sure you have a lot of viewers this evening. If they're like me, they just didn't want to take the time to call in because they're afraid we're going to miss something. This is Stacy Harris calling, and I've never had the pleasure of meeting Steve. I've spoken with you, Jesse, on one occasion, and I've known Bart forever. And I just want to say that he is tireless in his devotion to the songwriters. And I was talking with Cheryl Blackman recently at a party, and I thought I had known. I knew Maggie Cavender, and we in fact honored her at our Journalists Association years ago, when we had a journalist association called the Nashville Entertainment Journalists Association. But even in the last few weeks, when I talked with Cheryl, he was educating me beyond what I knew about the work that she had done. And Bart is he's just done tremendous things that, in terms of the legislation and everything, and I'm sure this has been dear to the hearts of everybody for quite some time, but he's just really been able to take the ball and run with it, and I'm sure Steve has been very instrumental in all of that as well. And I just wanted to, after all of that, kind of throw you a curve, if I might. All
right, yeah, let's hear it.
Well, once we're feeling feeling the benefits of the Music Modernization Act, what is next? And I have a suggestion. I don't know if this can be implemented. And Jesse, this might be a really good story for you. Years ago, the Country Music Association, in concert with ROPE and some other organizations, was trying to get a retirement home, basically, similar for country entertainers, similar to what the Hollywood, I guess it's the Hollywood Home for the Aged or something that the acting community has had. And depending on who you talk to, there's all kinds of reasons about why that has never come to fruition. They had the grounds at one time, and then I guess the deal fell through, and then there was some legalities and whatever. And like I said, it depends on who you talk to. All of which is to say, songwriters are in the same boat. I mean, and we're all getting older, all of us in the industry. And might that be something that maybe could be revisited that would include songwriters as well as performers and maybe other industry people?
Stacy, great question. Let's get to it. So,
first of all, I've known Stacy forever and big fan of hers, and thank you, Stacy.
And nice to meet you, Stacy.
So, maybe. You know, our core is copyright advocacy. That doesn't mean we weren't involved. Ed Benson, the former director of CMA, met with me over a couple years to try to get this retirement home. And, you know, frankly, I don't remember exactly why it never happened. I think part of it was demand. I think affordability. But look, we've been involved with a number of metro issues in terms of the affordability of living for songwriters and whatever. But I'll tell you this, based on the call, I'll touch base with our friends at CMA and elsewhere and see if that's something we can revive. You know, a lot of people ask us to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, some of our big accomplishments are changing the tax laws for songwriters, copyright infringement, insurance, that deal with the day-to-day profession of songwriting. Next, on the legislative horizon, we've got a couple of things that still are elements to really solve the payment problem for the Steve Bogards of this world. One is piracy. That is still a huge global problem. And we're going to have a new chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. If it's the Democrats win, it's Gerald Nadler from New York, a great friend. If it's Republicans, it's Doug Collins of Georgia, the original sponsor of this bill. Either way, I believe we're going to be able to revive that conversation. The other part, remember in my long-winded explanation earlier, was these two 1941 era consent decrees, which ASCAP and BMI are under, that really restrict their ability to navigate in the marketplace. And there has to be a pretty big discussion about those. But we'll sure look into it, Stacey.
But to add to that, one of the important evidence standard elements of the Music Modernization Act is a term called willing buyer, willing seller, which songwriters have never had. And that means, simply put, my song is worth what I'm willing to sell it for and what the user is willing to buy it for. Just like anybody else in the free market. We're the only real industry that's not got the government's thumb, that has the government's thumb right on our heads. So if the goal of that. An eventual goal would be for us to be in a free market. Right. Would be for us to be able to negotiate ourselves.
60 entities agreeing on that.
Right.
That was a down the road goal.
This is a bolder step than I thought we could accomplish, to tell you the truth. We get a whole lot done in this bill, and there's things for record labels. Crazy law. Copyright law is like an onion, and it just got cobbled together and you peel it back. So remember, he said there's two copyrights. There's the songwriter's copyright, and then there's the record label and artist copyright. And because there was no federal law on that copyright, on the records and artists before 1972, legally they don't have to be paid in the streaming world.
Some states
Pandora actually had a channel that was pre-72, and none of those artists got paid. It's state law, and not every state has a law, as Steve said. So there were lawsuits about it, and this is going to fix that problem. Very important, Nashville is also a town of musicians. We have the best studio musicians on the planet here. And background singers, they get a royalty, not the songwriter royalty, through a company called Sound Exchange. But because of a quirk in the law, it gets paid to the labels, who pay it to the artists, who then are supposed to pay the background musician and singers. And that's a long-winded food chain. It's complicated, and the background singers and musicians don't always get that money. Right. In this bill, it goes straight from Sound Exchange to them. So this is bold copyright reform across the spectrum.
That's great. Well, we got Wayne on line 3, Todd on line 4, so we're going to go to Wayne now. Wayne, let's hear your question. You are on the air with us right now. Hello, Wayne.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
I have a question. I know when they came out with music videos, it basically changed the way, you see music. And then comes country music television, and of course they're the ones that control Music Fest. That's where you have to submit if you want to play as a band on stage. My question is, where is the future of this? I mean, it seems like it's getting so complicated that, music videos, how's that going to play into it? Are they going to be regulated? And record producers, it just seems to me like everything is getting too complicated that the left hand don't know what the right hand is doing.
Well, amen to that. Yeah. Our industry, what did Senator Corker say once upon a time?
He said, I was just in Greenland for 3 days learning all the ins and outs of our new missile defense system, and I don't know how the hell you people get paid. And so you're right. I mean, videos do get a royalty now. That's
they get a royalty. And look, the future videos, we're not the experts to speak on that, but it's always about how people consume things. And so I'm older. My staff's all in their 20s. They don't watch TV. They watch their phones. It's all streamed. And so my guess is more and more that's the future of videos as well as our industry.
I can tell you that eventually user-generated content, talk about a future agenda goal for NSAI, that user-generated content and videos that people put on YouTube are not compensated
the way
properly.
They should be.
Right.
It's minimal at best.
One thing at a time.
I do want to say one thing. The Music Modernization Act, about a year ago, this bill really came together. We'd had 4 or 5 different bills out there. This bill represents what we, being NSAI, the National Music Publishers Association, ASCAP, BMI, and the record labels, then the streaming companies believed we could find agreement on. And even with that, we think there's agreement, there's another hurdle. This senator has an issue. This private company shows up on the Hill. I don't see any massive reforms that we're going to have agreement on. The next ones are going to be tougher fights, which is very difficult in Congress. We're going to have to fight for gains beyond this.
Because for 15 years we've been going to Congress, and the one thing that we hear over and over again is, come to us when you agree.
Consensus.
We do not want to hear what the labels want, or what the broadcasters want, or what the songwriters want. We don't want to decide who gets the dog in the divorce. Just bring us a consensus. This is the first time we've been even close to a consensus, and it's incredibly exciting.
There's only been significant copyright reform twice. 1976, that law took place in 78. There was some in the 90s that was supposed to be significant. History shows it wasn't that significant. And now, because it's very hard for interests to align and for everybody to agree, and in this particular case, everybody needed something and everybody gave something up. Here's what I love. The creators are the winners in this bill, and that's the way it should be.
And that's huge for Nashville. Well, Todd, we have you on the line, but we're going to toss to a break. We're going to take you right when we get back, so stay with us.